Welcome back to Smash Baseball. This is Mr. H. I just wanted to make a video to highlight some of the superior work for the student presentations that we did as we finish up Chapter 10 of our Ancient Rome unit. And I really like this first cover screen that these students made, just with the color and the gold and that black windy staircase in the background. It makes it very clear what their topic is: geography of Rome. They started their presentation with a quote: "As in Rome, there is, apart from the Romans, a population of statues so apart from this real world of illusion, almost more potent, in which most men live." Interesting as we go. And then they talked about the legendary founding of Rome. Romulus and Remus made a great slide for this. Of course, mentioned the Seven Hills of Rome, which is where the original buildings were built on these hills, mainly for protection and isolation. It was 40 miles from the Mediterranean Sea, so they had a good buffer zone from potential invaders. And then this was another project on Gaius Marius. And what I really liked about their presentation was this particular slide right here about Marius, and how it makes it clear that prior to Marius, only landowners could join the army. And the reform that Marius brought into the army was that landless, poor citizens could enlist in the army and in the Roman army. And the critics of this policy pointed out that it potentially, or did, lead to these poor soldiers who all of a sudden had hope and a paycheck where they didn't have a paycheck before, and that they became more loyal to the generals rather than the state of Rome. And this led to division, mainly the class division that we saw from the very, very beginning. And then the student wrote this journal entry, which I thought was brilliant. And the student wrote as if he was Marius, and wrote, "Today I think about how far I have come. I wasn't born wealthy, but I became a consul 7 times. I made an army where poor and landless men can fight for Rome, and they all trust me. Sulla keeps trying to fight me," right? Marius versus Sulla, "and Rome is getting dangerous. I just really hope that I did my best for Rome." That was a pretty tough journal entry that was made. Okay, so then another one I really liked, because it has this motion here and brings up the First Punic War, right, between Carthage and Rome. This was the naval particular part of the 3 wars. The first one was where Rome started without a navy, and they quickly built up a naval fleet and defeated Carthage, who had a superior navy prior to this. And if you remember the Corvus, that was the drawing bridge that allowed Roman soldiers to basically capture opposing ships and then board them and fight hand-to-hand combat, which is what the Roman soldiers were best at. And simultaneously, during the Second Punic War, the Macedonian War started. And I highlighted this particular presentation for that. And they pointed out that the First Macedonian War lasted from 214 to 205 BC, and it was happening during the Second Punic War with Carthage. This was with Hannibal on that other front. And basically, Rome didn't have the resources to fight Macedonia at the time, so they brokered a peace deal. So there was no real clear winner, but it led to future tensions, and eventually they would fight again. So back to the Second Punic War, this is where Hannibal comes in. And if you remember, Hannibal's known to be like a military strategy genius. And these students pointed out that he's famous for leading some 50,000 troops in that range across the Italian Alps with the war elephants. Again, considered a military genius. And it says here from them, his name means grace of Baal, referring to a god, lowercase g. Anyways, this Hannibal was notorious, and he actually almost defeated the Romans. He was very, very, very close, but he didn't finish the deal because they had to spend the winter to recoup And over that winter, Rome also recouped, and eventually Rome wins the Second Punic War as well. Here's another slide or different set of students who made a real attractive slide about Hannibal. Their project was about Hannibal, but I like that background. It looks like almost like a business card background. And they have some beautiful art that they shared as well. Remember, the elephants is really associated with that Second Punic War, particularly Hannibal crossing the Alps in that epic journey. Okay, so then we had the Third Punic War, which didn't last for very long. And I love this presentation slide, the intro slide, just grabs your attention right away. And especially that how the Third Punic War font looks and the color. Nice job, guys. And then, so what started the Third Punic War? It was basically Cato the Elder, a Roman senator. He was making the case that they needed to destroy and decimate Carthage for good. They had just finished paying Rome 10,000 silver talents, but that wasn't enough. And eventually people listened to Cato the Elder, and war began, and it was all Rome essentially invading Carthage, which is in North Africa. And Rome utterly destroys and decimates Carthage. Sadly, they violently kill most of the people. They knock down and burn most of the buildings, and they leave Carthage with nothing. They took all the valuable stuff from them, but really, actually, a terrifying genocide, I guess, is almost a way to describe it. Here's a picture. Rome completely destroys Carthage in the Third Punic War. Okay, another presentation. I thought this one was great. Julius Caesar, good imagery, good colors, clear topic, very nicely put together fonts, and it's just easy to read and pleasant to the eye. So Caesar was part of the first triumvirate with Pompey and Crassus. Remember, Pompey was the military guy, Crassus was the finance guy, and these guys weren't buddy-buddy in this first triumvirate. They were actually rivals with each other, but the calculus was that they could, all three of them, if they put their resources and special talents together, that they each brought something different to the table, that they could actually have more power than the Senate. Okay, so eventually we have many civil wars that occur in Rome. Sulla versus Marius. This is the one that we focused on the most in this unit. And again, I really like this presentation screen with like the crumpled up newspapers in the back. And again, interesting fonts, easy to read, clear what this presentation is about. And it continues with the same themes, why the Civil War began, and Sulla and Marius fought a civil war 88 to 82. Okay, it was started as a personal rivalry. They used to be on the same side. Excuse me, I'm getting a cold here. So yeah, this crisis was fueled by the struggle between Marius's popular faction, he was a populist, and Sulla was basically fighting for the elite conservative faction, the Senate. And this led to Sulla's march on Rome, where Sulla is ultimately successful, and Marius has to go out and live in exile. Okay, so anyways, great presentation. I love this one a lot. This one's about the Roman army. Another sharp imagery here. I like the colors, but most importantly, I love the information. Why was the Roman army so successful? Because they trained hard and they were very disciplined. They were very disciplined, hardworking army, which was key. They did tons of training. They carried heavy packs with their armor and weapons and tools, and they were just like super tough soldiers that could probably put up with a lot more than most of us could in a single day. What they did would probably make us rethink a lot of things we were doing. So, anyways, great job, guys. I really, really loved all the presentations. If yours wasn't on here, don't worry about it. You'll make it next time. Smash baseball.